Well, this is going to be fun, Edwina. I'm so glad you decided to join me today so we can have this little heart to heart conversation for everybody. And I have so many questions after hearing about your story. You were telling me a little bit about it. So now maybe you can share it with everyone else. But first, I wanted to share with you I had talked to Joanna in a heartfelt conversation earlier. And I
Hmm.
revealed to her that my motivation for joining Dare to Dream was because when COVID hit and everyone started panicking, losing their jobs, worried about what they were going to do, stuck at home, it kind of threw me back into where I was before I started my business. I wanted people to break out of that comfort zone and be able to build a business, not to be scared anymore. And I figured I could be an inspiration for that. So that's why I got involved. Maybe you can now share why you got involved with Dare to Dream. But first, maybe a little bit about your background. I also learned that you are a military veteran. Oh, sorry about that. That you were a military veteran and you're a retired paramedic. So thank you very much. That's a diverse career path, by the way.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned in your chapter about being married to a con man and not being able to talk about that for many years after, and what you went through with that. So maybe you could share some of these things in your background, but especially about where you were a few months ago. You were in the hospital with your second heart failure, and while you were writing this chapter, your heart was functioning at 18%. I can't even imagine. So share a little bit about your background with these things and what you've been through, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm happy to. And thanks for doing this, Darlene. I appreciate it. The book is going to be so much fun when it comes out, and the women that are a part of it with me, such as yourself and the other ladies, are amazing. So everybody get the book for sure. But to answer and thank you for what you did. That's really cool because when COVID happened, it did. A lot of people realized they're like, wait a minute, I don't have to work for the man. I can kind of do my own thing and have some freedom and see my family and my kids. And people did want to do that, but they didn't know how to do it, many of them. So that's really cool that you came out and showed up and started helping people do that, especially other moms. So thank you. So yes, about myself, very interesting background. It's funny. I've been through so much. Most people that meet me don't know, and then as they get to know me, I'm like, "Oh yeah, this happened," and they're like, "What has not happened to you in your life?" Like it's crazy. And I know I don't want to like overwhelm people by dumping it all at one time. So yes, I was in the military. I was in the Air Force Reserve as a medic and a flight medic on the big C-130 fixed wing aircraft, which was really fun and cool. And then simultaneously, I was a paramedic. So I did like 911, ambulance stuff for many years. My total career in EMS was about 13 years and loved that. I quit doing it when I was pregnant with my son, my firstborn, because I was like creeping up on 40 and I didn't want to be doing 24-hour shifts and sleeping in a bunkhouse anymore at that age and starting a family. If I'd have started my family maybe in my 20s, I probably would have been like, whatever, I'm still going to do this. But for me, I was ready to move on. And I had already been, I had already dabbled in the business world for many years when I quit being a paramedic, but then just continued that kind of full time as well. In addition to all of that, I I've had two children with my second husband. He's amazing. But my first husband was another story. And yes, I did not talk about that marriage for 16 years. Last April was the first time I ever did publicly. And it kind of shocked a lot of people that had known me for years, like over a decade. They're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this about you because I just didn't talk about it. And one day I went on TikTok. Well, actually, leading up to that, my husband, ironically, now he wasn't when I met him, but my current husband, he's a mental health therapist. So, very supportive guy. And I said, I think I'm going to start writing a book about, my ex. And he said, I think that would be really good for you, be, cathartic. And he was totally supportive of it. And then I said, well, no, maybe I'll start a video series first. And he was like, well, whatever you need to do, just I'm supportive. So I flip-flopped. I was like, no, I better not do that. I'll just do the book because it's a complex story. And I'm just wishy-washy, right? Over a couple of days. And then one day I was home alone and I just had this prompting. I didn't even have a personal TikTok account. Again, this was a year ago, April. I didn't even have a personal TikTok account. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to make a TikTok about it. I don't know where the idea, like it just bam, I'm ready to do it. Darlene, within minutes, I downloaded the app, I created an account, and I had recorded a video and posted it. And then I just exited out, went along my way, and I come back, and that video had blown up. And I was like, oh crap, what did I just do? Now I have to talk about it. But it was such a relief. I was so glad I did. And there's still a lot of details I have not exposed because there's like high profile people involved, and it's a crazy story. Um, so I was like, whoa, 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 I got to rein this in a little bit. So I did talk about it, but then I just kind of diversified my page a little bit because I'm like, I'm not ready for all of this. So that led to me having this concept of making noise because one of the reasons I started finally talking about it was even after 16 years, I felt like he was still, my ex was he would try to trick me into talking to him. He would contact me through my business and I would be communicating with somebody, like not his name, not his email. And then I would realize, oh my gosh, I think this is him. And that would happen like once a year. I would have this and it would make me pull back and not be just not want to get online, not want to be seen or heard. And I was so sick of that. And it had happened again about a month prior to this. And I was like, dang it, you know? And then I had this epiphany. I said, you know what? I have been quiet for 16 years and he's still messing with my head. I'm going to make noise. And so I got on and I said, I think if I start making noise and talking about it, he will run away because he doesn't want people to know the truth. He just wants to mess with me, you know? And I've been quiet. So anyway, long story short, it developed into this whole thing of let's make some noise. But I'm a positive person, and I didn't want noise to be like an angry middle-aged woman coming out and bashing her ex, because that's truly not what it is. I've actually forgiven him. Um, so noise is my acronym for a narrative of inspiration, strength, and encouragement. And that's why I make noise. And I want other people to do that too and know that they can.
I think that's wonderful. Can you walk me through the process of making noise and how others can do that too?
Yeah. So, and I write about this in the book, so I won't give away all the details, but um, it is something, it's easy. I mean, anybody can do it. What what I talk about as well is that when I was a child, I whispered to my mom when others were around. When I was in the military, I was bashed, I mean, for just thrashed for not being able to yell loud enough. There's a lot of irony in me saying make noise as well, you know? And so I like to tell people, and I have a podcast called Let's Make Some Noise as well. And one of the things the intro talks about is you can make noise no matter who you are. Like, if I can make noise, you can make noise. And again, it's just having that courage to say, you know what? I can turn this into something positive. And who doesn't want to do that, right? So if you can shift your thinking and just turn that adversity into a narrative that other people can be encouraged from, like, let's just do it. Don't be afraid anymore.
That's an amazing idea. It really is. And I can't wait for people to read the chapter and be able to make noise for themselves. So you've faced a lot of significant challenges, obviously, with all of this, both personally and professionally. How did you navigate those obstacles when you were going through them, and what kept you motivated to continue? Maybe we can share some strategies so that others can do it too.
Yeah, so I have this framework that I realized that I was living out, and I call it the rocky water approach. And again, I really go in depth in the chapter. And when I speak, that's what I talk about and different things. But um, one of the things I can tell you is that, and I don't think we touched on it here, but in 2020, I was diagnosed with heart failure. I was functioning at 15%, like all of a sudden. It was crazy. It's a crazy story. I go in depth in the book, but I was told I only had a year to live. And, I was there's some darkness there, dark days. And then I reached out to some friends. I'm like, please pray for me because this is dark. Like I've never felt like this, but I cannot believe I'm going to die and leave my two young children and my husband. I just cannot believe this because I'd been so healthy. And I did. I just had this joy that was like unbelievable. So much so that doctors and nurses would come in my hospital room and they were like, do you understand what's going on? I'm like, I truly do. I mean, I was in the medical field. I get it. But I also know I'm not going to die. It's going to be all right. And it was amazing. So then I did eventually get out of the hospital, but I had to wear a defibrillating life vest. And one day, and I had returned back to painting, which I hadn't painted in 30 years. And when I painted before, I did oil painting, but this time I decided to try watercolor painting. And here I am sitting at my dining room table wearing a defibrillating life vest because I can just drop dead at any minute. And if I did, hopefully this life vest would shock me and save my life. But so I was very, very fragile in my health. And I'm painting in this watercolor. I noticed that I had a concept of what I wanted to paint, but the water would take the colors in this beautiful direction and create this wonderful masterpiece that looked very different than what I originally planned. And I was like, oh, I have to let go, you know? Like I can have a concept, I can show up, I can bring what I have to the table, but I'm not in control. I don't need to be, I don't want to be. Just let go. And that's a big part of it.
That's a powerful story, a very powerful story, but it shows you the power of faith and belief and courage. You are so courageous.
Thank you.
If I would add anything to that, yeah, I believe the unwavering belief in the worthiness of your dreams is worth pursuing despite the setbacks. Um, you have to draw on that strength inside, and you have to do what's best for you, obviously. But if you don't chase your dreams, if you don't do the things that you really want to do, then you know that you're going to miss out on life. And those dreams are going to still be there, even if you don't pursue them. So I think you're coming out and being fearless and sharing this with people is going to make a huge difference in people's lives. I think that's wonderful.
Thank you. Well, that's what I hope. That is truly um, the easy thing is to just tuck yourself away, right? And live out the rest of your life. But uh, sorry.
No, it's okay. Take a
Yeah.
minute if you need it.
But we don't have to do that. We can make noise.
That's absolutely inspirational. And I'm so glad to be sharing this book with you.
Thank you.
Um, and I think we both agree too that women they have a particular set of circumstances that's different from men. We have more challenging journeys ahead of us when we're entering entrepreneurship. Um, and what I teach is the combination of expertise, emotions, and earnings. I think those things are crucial because There are distinct advantages to launching a business when you have the expertise. You're able to solve the problems. You have confidence in yourself. Other people have confidence in you. And when you don't, you have to depend on other people, and that certainly doesn't bring any belief in yourself, does it? When you have to lean on others. But also, I believe that success comes from the alignment of internal elements with that, your emotions. Women, that's a big part of us, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if we don't consider our emotions when we're building a business, then we're not going to build the right business for us. And then obviously we have to align those things with the market. Now, Joanna, when we were talking, she talks a lot about rhythm, finding your rhythm, and that being key. You talk a lot about harmony, and I talk about alignment. So I think we're both sharing kind of the same message, even though it's a little bit.
Yeah.
Women are different, but that's why our approach has to be a little bit different. Do you
Yeah.
think?
So I did. I listened to you and Joanna's recording, and it was really, really good. And yeah, as she was talking about that, I was like, oh yeah, that harmony rhythm, it's, exactly. We're spot on. So, and you with you said alignment of
Right, because
it.
I know that you
Yeah.
talk about work-life balance being unrealistic, and in a way, it kind of is when you're going the typical approach. But I kind of believe it's a little more realistic. You're never going to have that perfect balance, but it's more realistic to find that balance when you're considering all of these elements.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, obviously, I think that women can do things, right? I mean, I'm definitely not one to think, well, we just got to know our place, you know? Heck no, we can do whatever we want to do. But also, like you said, you have to be realistic and know that there are different challenges. And not to say that being a man isn't hard. I think being a man is tremendously hard, just in different ways, right? They could have their own
Right.
podcast about how hard it is to be a man because it is. Um, so this is just our hard, right? One of our things that are hard. And it truly does. I mean, I have been in a lot of male dominated industries and businesses, and I see and I hear them talk. I'm like, oh, that would not work. As a stay-at-home mommy trying to do a business, like your way of thinking just doesn't work with this, Like I wish it did, but it doesn't. And then it's not that you don't know those women that go out and do it like a man does, but there's some kind of sacrifice there. Maybe they get to the point and their kids are teenagers and they don't really have a bond because, and I'm not saying anything against those women. I have friends like that. So, but, then them looking back, they're like, oh, darn, you know, heck yeah, I exceeded here, but I lost out on this. So you just have to decide, what do I want? And how do I merge these two things? And then you have to know and be realistic, like you said, that it's going to look different, going to look
Exactly.
very different.
So I just explained how I recommend people find alignment. Can you share some strategies about how you find harmony?
Well, it was just being realistic, which I wasn't in the beginning. I had been in business and then I had children and then I had business and was thinking, oh, just click along. I know business. And I was like, whoa, this is different. This doesn't work the same. And I was angry. I was really angry a lot. And my husband pointed out to me that I was angry all the time and it just pissed me off. And then I was like, he's right. And I don't want to be an angry mom. So how do I fix this? If I want to be in business, but I also want to be, the mom that bakes cookies and stuff. And if you don't want to be the mom that bakes cookies, that's fine. I just did want to be that mom, but I also wanted to be a businesswoman. So I'm like, what do I do? And again, I just prayed and I was like, God, man, I really want both of these things. And what do I do first? And I just had this piece that said, well, why don't you just be a mom? You know, and because these babies are going to grow super fast and don't be sad that you miss that. So the other will come. It's just going to come slower and look very different. And that was kind of a precursor to my painting and letting it go, of just, well, it'll happen. It's just going to look very different than I had planned.
I totally agree with that. I kind of built mine differently. I wanted to be home with my daughter in the afternoons too, and to be able to spend more time with my kids and grandkids. So I kind of built that in. So I totally agree with you. You have to build something around what it
Yeah,
is you're looking for in your life. Otherwise, it's not going to happen magically. It's got to be
no.
something you consider. Um, Now, I also wanted to ask you, you highlighted the importance of a supportive community. And I do too. I'm currently trying to build a community where like-minded women can work together to build their business because I feel like we need that community. How has being part of a community impacted your journey, and what advice would you give to women seeking similar support?
Ooh, find people like I would tell them, find people like you, Darlene, as soon as possible and join that community. I don't care how much you have to pay for it, join it because you will not regret it. Um, I just had a conversation with my kids today, and they're now 11 and 10. And I said, "Hey guys, y'all know I wrote this book, and they know I've been in business. I mean, we've talked a lot about business, so they're familiar. And I said, y'all know I wrote this book and this and that. And I was having a conversation about how, as business owners, we all know, it's just a thing we know that when you create something and put it out there in the world, most of your friends and family don't cheer you on. I mean, be grateful for the few that do, but overwhelmingly, that is not the norm. And it does hurt. I mean, we're not robots, right? Like it sucks because then you see another family member post that they graduated college or got a new job, and everybody's like, "Oh, good job. That's awesome. Yay, you're amazing." And you're like, "I started a business or I wrote a book," and it's crickets.
Yeah,
And I was telling my kids, I said, "But here's the thing, don't stop. Just because those are just not the people it was for. Those people are out there, and you find a community of people that are doing what you're doing, and they will cheer you on. And you have to find that. And if you don't, it's going to be a very, very lonely journey, and you might give up because and again, I did. I found a group of people, and this was when I had my other business, and it was like male dominated industry. And so it was a bunch of men. They were amazing, and I'm so glad I found them because it was at that time it was the community I needed and the only community I could, you know, join that related to what I was doing. So now that I'm shifting and I'm doing, the speaking and kind of talking and teaching how to make noise, that's more geared towards women, I find. Like that's my passion. And just like with you, and that's why I'm saying, like people who are trying to do the thing that you're teaching, they need to join your community as soon as possible because it is community is just everything.
I totally agree that the part about family, you're right, because they don't understand what you're building. They don't
No.
understand the journey. And that's why it's good to be surrounded by like-minded women who already are on that journey and they understand the
Yeah.
challenges you're facing. And they actually, some of them they've already solved. So you learn from them on how to solve the
Hmm.
problem yourself. And your family may not understand. They may cheer you on in quiet, but their
Right.
feedback is not what you need to be able to refine what you're doing. You're right. We need to be in a community of women to learn from on how to run our business, but we also need to be out there in the community with our customers so we're learning from them too. So I totally agree
Yeah.
with those. I also wanted to talk about the children. I think you're probably inspiring your children a lot. The statistics show that when you're an entrepreneur, your children tend to be an entrepreneur. It's more
Yeah.
likely. So being an entrepreneur has that added benefit. And when your children see you doing this, that's bound to make them strive for it too.
It has, and they've already dabbled in that. And we're homeschooling for the first time this year, and it's been a lot of fun and just kind of promotes that even more, that independent thinking and the confidence of breaking outside the box and doing different things. So it's fun.
And
a
the
lot of fun.
belief too, because when we're on that journey, a lot of people don't have faith in themselves, but your children are seeing you actually make progress. And so it
Yeah.
makes it easier for them to believe that they could do it too. So yes, thank you.
Mhm.
I love that. I also wanted to bring up your other business. There's the business you had to put on hold while your children were little. Maybe you could share a little bit about that and where that's at
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. So I actually still have it. It'll be 10 years old in a couple of months. And it's a trash can cleaning business. And when I started it, I was one of the first in America. I mean, there were literally maybe four other people doing it. And I had actually had the idea for 7 years and just kept it quiet because we had another business. But so by the time I started it, there were a few others, but that made it hard. I tell people again, kind of going back to like find a community. There was no community for me to tap into because nobody was doing it. And that made it really hard because there wasn't a community that knew how to do this business. So I created one and I'm proud of that. And I became an industry leader. I've got like 3 industry ebooks and different things, but that's a whole other hat. And I mean, I do consulting for that and it's amazing. And I'm still passionate about that. So, but again, it goes back to it's super hard when there's no community. And I did so many things the wrong way. Wasted so much time, so much money. And now I'm able to share knowledge and other people are able to share knowledge and new people coming in are like picking it up like that and running with it. And I think, wow, that's awesome. And I'm glad that they have that.
Well, I also want to add to that. You kept it quiet and didn't do anything with it for 7 years, and then you did. So there's another lesson for people. You can put those dreams away, shove them away, and do nothing with them. But if you
Hmm.
actually take action, what can happen? Look what
Oh
can
yeah.
look what you've done.
Yeah.
So I
You
think
know, this is a
that's an
this
absolute.
is a this is appropriate. I have this on my desk. My husband bought this for me, I think in 2019. It says, it's probably backwards, but
No,
little
you got it.
girls with dreams become women of vision.
Love that.
And I do love it because you can sometimes you have that dream and it takes a while, but if you don't give up on it and you do start taking action, even if it's a little bit at a time, the vision comes true.
So now, Edwina, I'm sure there have been specific moments or sources of encouragement that you've had along the way that significantly influenced your journey. So, how can women find and cultivate these sources of inspiration?
It really goes back to that community. Find people who will be your cheerleader, who will build you up and that know what you're going through. Um, that is just big. Um, and for me, of course, I have a lot of faith in in a God that I believe is truly there and is living and cares. So, find that if you don't have it, because we're all spiritual beings. I believe if we weren't, and I mentioned this in the book, if we weren't spiritual beings and there weren't a superior being somewhere, like what makes anything wrong? What makes what he did to me and all the people, what makes that wrong? Like if there's no spirit that it's affecting, So so tap into that, tap into what's out there that mm, explains life and what's happening.
Okay. Um, and then for women out there who feel a little overwhelmed by their responsibilities and afraid to take action, what help would you offer them on taking that first step?
Well, I mean, personally, I'm, developing a program that can help them. So whether it's your program or mine or somebody else's, just find that and learn how to streamline those steps and make the right ones at the right time. You can, and if you don't and you do it on your own and you do it wrong, that's okay. Just get back up, try again, do something different. And if you don't stop and you keep taking action, you're eventually going to get it right and eventually going to make some progress. So there's really no wrong way to do it. It's just there are easier ways to do it.
So true. So true. And then you were telling me you're building out something. You want to tell us a little bit more about that before we move on?
Yeah, so I mean, if I do have something, it's called on my website, it's called the Noisemaker Club. You can join that. It's free to join it, and I'll be updating people as I progress with this. But for people who do want to turn their tragedy into triumph and learn how to lead, and there's something inside you, and you're just not living it out, but you're ready. I'm here to talk to you and give you guidance. So,
Well, I can't wait
because
to hear more about that. I hope when you get it done, you'll share it with me so I can share it too.
yes, thank you.
So what are some of your future goals besides building out that new
Mhm.
program?
Just speaking and my business, even though it's 10 years old, I've shifted just this year out of kind of running that and managing it. So it's really nice. It's given me the freedom to do this for the first time in a long time, and I'm excited about that.
I'm excited for you. And
How
that's
about
amazing.
you?
Oh,
How about you?
I've actually been putting together some ebooks to try to help people walk them through that first step in running a
Yeah, good.
business. Actually, quite a few steps. I've got 30 of them that I'm developing to put on my site, one for each part of what you have to do, everything from pricing to business planning to marketing, etc. But I also have a
That's good.
12-week program that I'm trying to get launched so that I can walk people through that with me in a community.
Yeah,
So I can't
that's
wait to get
good.
that going. So your story has so many powerful lessons in it. What one key message or takeaway would you like to leave people with today?
The key message is there is hope. So whether you're going through some adversity right now or you've been through it and you feel like because of that you can't do something, you can't do what's deep down in your heart, that's not true. There's hope and you can. So just tap into the resources that are out there to help you do that.
That's wonderful. I would just say, nobody's going to do it for you, and you can't get it done without action. So just take that first step and take it one step at a time. And with
Yeah.
all the strategies that we've shared in the book and on these behind the scenes calls, I really think that people should be able to get those first steps taken. Build a
Yeah.
community. Just take that first step and start joining other people and let them help you to grow that courage so that you can keep
Yeah.
going. I
You
also,
know,
go ahead, go ahead.
I was going to say, we've talked about joining communities, and you should. Like, I'm a part of other communities, but also build your own community. The first person to order a book, the pre-order the book, Dare to Dream Big, is a stranger off of my TikTok. Like, I've never met this person. I don't know her, and but she's a part of the community that I've built, right? And one of those people, it wasn't a family, it wasn't a member, it wasn't a friend, it's this random stranger who, um, like I said, is there because I built this community. And there are people that want to hear your voice, so just don't stifle it and begin using it. And the people, not everybody was meant to hear the same voices, and follow the same people. So there are people I will never reach, people you will never reach, but for anybody listening, there are people that you will reach. So use your voice.
That is so true. I'm glad you threw that in there. If you reach out and you have something to offer people, I feel like it's a responsibility to do that. Share your
Hmm.
gifts, and there are people
Yeah,
out there that need them.
yeah,
So thank you. Thanks for adding that. And I also wanted to say I think it's wonderful that you're on the mend. I hear that your health is improved. Can you share a little bit
yeah.
about that?
It has. So I actually, just before I even knew this book was a thing, had gotten sick again. So I already had this, concept on my heart, the making noise, and talking about this journey. And then, bam, I got sick again just a few months ago and was shocked to find out my heart was only functioning at 18%. And again, I was back on the wearing the defibrillating life vest. But I really did rely on the things that I talk about in the book, my Rocky Water approach, and I've just been joyful through this whole process. And and then, I mean, I was sitting again ironically, I was sitting at my dining room table days after Christmas, and um, got an email inviting me to this book. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to write, but I'm going to write in this book. So I joined it. And while I was in the hospital, I said, God, I don't get it. I had this message in my heart and this whole thing I thought I learned through all this adversity. How am I supposed to teach this if I'm dying of heart failure again? Like, I don't get it. And I felt like he said, no, your message is going to be even stronger. And I feel like it is.
It is, it is. God is there and he's doing some wonderful things in the world.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you will be with us for a long time, still making noise.
Thank you.
Well, this has
Glad to be
been
here.
fun. Would you like to
Yeah.
share anything else with people before we wrap it up?
No, hopefully they stay till the end and listen to this. So, got some encouragement out of it and get the book. So,
Absolutely. Get the book and then start taking action in their own lives.
yeah, definitely.
Well,
All right.
thank you so much. This has been so much fun, Edwina. I can't wait
Yeah.
to meet you in person again. We're trying to plan a book signing and reading in July. Joanna's going to be in the Los Angeles area. Maybe you'll be able to make
Nice.
it out here too, and we can get together and join people in person to have some of these conversations.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah. All
So
right. Thank
looking
you,
forward
Darlene,
to
for
it,
doing
and thank you so much.
appreciate it. I know you highlighted me a lot. I hope people get what you're doing is amazing as well. And
Thank you.
enjoy
And I
reading your
just wanted to
chapter.
get
Look
stories
you up.
out and let people know what miraculous women are in this book
Yeah.
and what they can learn by reading it because you guys are very inspirational.
You are as well. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. All right.
Bye.
Bye.